We've been dating for 4 years, and we've been living together for 2. You know, there's so many jokes about lesbian relationships and U-Hauls and everything that come up, but I tend to be very, I don't think along those terms. I've never thought of myself any differently than I would be if I was straight. Like I try not to, I try not to conduct my life any differently just because I'm a lesbian. So once we moved in together, that's when we started the conversation about how the rest of our lives were going to play out. And I knew up front that she was someone who wanted children. So that is something that did come up in conversation in the first year for sure. And I have been indifferent to it until my transplant. Really, I was on dialysis for a year before my transplant. Right. And my father passed away right before I went on dialysis. So again, the idea of life and end of life was heavy on my mind. And because I wasn't sure if I was going to come through the transplant. I mean, there was a possibility. So I think that when I came through the transplant and realized that it was almost an obligation I had, you know, responsibility I had now to live life better than I did before, then I thought, well, how do you fully live life? Then as a woman, I wanted to live it as fully as possible, and I thought motherhood is a part of that. It was right around the time we moved in together that we decided on how were we going to have children. And she said, well, her thought was, well, let's freeze your eggs, because mainly due to the transplant, and plus I was in my late 30s at the time. And she said, if something happens, if you know, because on dialysis and with no functioning kidneys, there's no way I could. There's potential of losing the ability to even try to have a kid. So she said, why don't we just freeze your eggs? We have that choice when the time comes. If you want to use your biological eggs, no big deal. Freeze my eggs, no problem. So there was the concern, if we don't use your eggs, like she wanted the choice of biological children. So we had not made the decision whether we were going to adopt or use our own biological children, but her thought is, let's give ourselves the choice so that if we don't use them, then fine. But if we do use them, let's have them. We spent 6 months looking at sperm banks, whittling down what we wanted. I got to the point where I had 5 finalists, okay? We had determined guys that we didn't want to see their pictures, that we preferred for them to want to be contacted. We tried to, because our physical features are different, so we wanted to have the same sperm that would fit both of our children, so they would be biologically, siblings. So we would use the same sperm for both of us if we did that. If we used both embryos. And then there was the decision, well, I'm blonde hair, brown eyed, and do I want to find a sperm donor that looks more like Katie? But no, because if Katie uses, then it'll all be Katie. Well, we're not going to be me. So do we choose somebody who's got green eyes that may go brown or blue or green or whatever? Or do we want to do, so then we started trying to find this generic dude that has light brown hair. So he may be blonde, he may be brunette, because we got to the point where we felt like we were playing God, well, we don't want to be that specific. Anyway, long story short, I had 5 finalists. I gave the pack of information to Mama Jo, is who we call her, Katie's mom, and my mother, whose name is Millie Pete. And it was around Christmas time, so we saw each other. We spent Christmas together, so we gave them each the packets. You pick the guy. Which one do you like of the 5? And they each picked one, and we ended up all picking the same guy. So we're like, perfect. So I called the sperm bank on Friday. I want to order it. I either had to call back or something. I forgot exactly what happened. But as of Monday, they were out. So as of Friday when I said I was interested, and then Monday morning, his sperm was gone, and there was no backup. He wasn't coming back in to make any more deposits. So after 6 months, I picked a guy whose last swimmers were taken by somebody else right ahead of me. So after that, Katie and I said, we're picking somebody we know. We're not going to go through that process again because that was too weird to begin with. So we then decided that we wanted somebody we knew, somebody who already had a family, because we did not want this to be his first child. And we narrowed it down to somebody that we know and who has children, married children, and we've included the husband and the wife. So they're both, to me, they're one unit. They're both the donor, and that's how we chose. So we're like, fine, let's do it. I think for us it was an exciting process because we didn't have fertility issues. They were very gay friendly. Like we were not the first same-sex couple to come in there to try to have children, and never did we feel that we were being any prejudice against us. I think for gay couples, we know that we have to find options, and for straight couples, I think they just assume they're going to be able to do it. And it just is this different. Just this different feel. And I felt, I don't know, I felt bad for them because I felt like, you went into it assuming that you could do it naturally, and it's so devastating for them. And I thought, but gay couples, I mean, we got to be creative from the start. I don't know. It was just that there was a definite difference that I felt with that. And it's never exact because they didn't know how many eggs I was going to have, because it depends on how my body took the hormones. So my body took the hormones, and I grew. They were able to take out 7 eggs total. And then of the 7, 5 were mature, because they got 7 out, but 2 of them weren't quite ready. They weren't, quite big enough. So 5 eggs were mature enough. They added the sperm to it. They looked at it over a 24-hour period. 24 hours later, 4 of the 5 had started the splitting, and they put them in the freezer. And they took a picture before they put them in the freezer. That's what I'm going to send you. So there's the long story of it.